saying like, hey, you don't need to go off on a tangent for 2 minutes. I know you heard a podcaster do this and you thought it was cool, but this isn't actually a good thing to do. It's actually really boring and it's defeating the purpose of this video or this story or whatever. Like having someone to weed out the part.
Hi, shit talkers. Welcome to Talk Shit Repeat. And I am your host, Paula, the shit talker.
Shit talking, always rocking. Shit talkers, come on and drop in. Shit talk is always shocking. Talking shit with pain, yeah.
I mean, don't we all like talking shit anyways? Talk Shit Repeat is the podcast for you.
Talking shit with pain, yeah.
Angela, welcome to Talk Shit Repeat. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. How are you?
I'm good. It's just amazing to finally have you on Talk Shit Repeat, especially for this final season. This season is very special to me, so I'm glad you could be a guest.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I feel honored.
Yeah, I feel like lately me and Angela have been getting to know each other, so I've been enjoying getting to know Angela, and I unsubscribe to a lot of people newsletters because some people just your newsletters are boring, and Angela's is one that has not yet hit an unsubscribe because I really enjoy your newsletter. So I'm gonna dive right into that, even though that was not the plan I had, but. What's the inspiration behind your newsletter?
Yeah, at first it started for a couple of reasons. One, I went to a podcast festival in Richmond called Resonate Podcast Festival, and I was really looking for ways to grow, one, just get like feedback on my podcast, and two, build a community around my podcast. I really wanted people who are consistently listening and who cared about yes, me as the host, but also getting to know other people. I feel like that's something I'm decently good at, which is connecting people to resources, connecting people to each other. And so I wanted a space where I could do that. As I started writing the newsletter, it morphed into something a lot more. It morphed into almost this educational and entertainment vehicle for people. So lots of long form writing, not really a lot of me regurgitating my podcast episodes. I did share them. I did write articles about them, and I still do, but that's not the bread and butter of the newsletter. The bread and butter of the newsletter is, I guess you could say, like editorial content that complements the conversations and the interviews I have on Honey and Hustle.
I love that. And I love that you say that you do sometimes share specific episodes. There was a time you kind of did, and I think you have seasons where sometimes I see it's more conversations and other times. But so I would want to ask, how do you decide when something, again, you are in film, you're a photographer and all those amazing stuff. So how do you decide what becomes a film versus a podcast versus a written piece? Because
Girl, the eternal struggle. Sometimes like I'll have an idea for something and I'll be like, oh, this would be a great YouTube video. And then I'll start writing and I'll be like, there's no way I'm going to remember this entire script. This just needs to be a newsletter article. There's just no way. Or I'll have an idea for something and I'll be like, hold on, like what other voices could I bring into this? This should be a podcast episode because I need to interview people. Or I'll have an idea for something and I'll be like, no, I need to show instead of tell. This needs to be a video or this needs to be a film. So sometimes it's just a lot of trial and error. Sometimes it's about what's the best package. Sometimes it's multiple things. Like sometimes I've done audio newsletters. Well, I'll write something and then I'll record myself reading it because it's kind of long. And so I want to give people opportunity to like listen to it on their morning commute versus trying to read an 18-minute article. Sorry, guys. So yeah, I think I just try to think about what's the best experience for the person that's going to be seeing this or hearing this or reading this. And that kind of dictates a lot of things.
I definitely get that. And I think that's one thing, like, I gave up on newsletters because I was like, um, writing in itself is a skill, and I don't care. People can say, "Oh, you can use Grammarly, you can use ChatGPT, all that, whatever," but it is a skill in itself to write to write in a way that people want to keep coming back to read more, right?
Yeah.
So, that already is stressing itself. Like me, I just have to worry about my podcast, and the content in itself is already crazy. Like choosing what clips to share and what to not share, because you don't want to overshare all the clips. Then it becomes a whole episode, you know. So for you to have to figure out between dividing, like, kudos to you, like that creativity level, which brings me to this. I still have this. I don't keep a lot of stuff I get from conferences, but this was talked a lot about at podcast movement evolution. And it's the way you designed it. I know people can say it's just a paper, but the way you made sure every sector and how you represented your brand in itself and the storytelling, like, how did you think about this? This is amazing. Like, there's a reason why I still have this. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I wanted to do something unique for Podcast Movement Chicago. And I actually have been working on that for like maybe 6 months. When I say working on it, like I started the design and sketch. I picked out the quotes. I knew kind of what I wanted in the QR code and wrote the copy for like the about section. And then I worked with a designer to like sketch the faces of the guests. So that is a designer did that from their images, and then he designed the pages of the pamphlet. And then I put it together in Canva and printed it and folded them all by hand. So that is quite literally a labor of love. But it was something that, again, I think made a really good impression because nobody else did that for their session. For people who were just like maybe not able to stay because they couldn't hear me because I was yelling to like 50 people without a microphone, then they at least got to know where they could find me after. You know, they could check out the newsletter, they could check out the podcast, and they could find me that way, or they could just reach out to me later on during the conference. So that was, I think, a shot in the dark. I wasn't sure how people were going to receive it. I think I made 50 and I gave all but like 3 of them away. So pretty solid, I would say, for numbers. And I'm really happy with what they gave me. I want to do it again. I don't know when I'll be speaking again, but I want to print some more out. I think they just make a really good impression. I'm also working on a print magazine version of Please Hustle Responsibly, the newsletter. So stay tuned for that as well. Print is not dead.
Oh my God, yo, you added to your fast. Please tell me this is the first time you're sharing this news.
I am. Yeah.
Okay, you added to your fast. I'm here for that and I can't wait. But no, when I say it was the talk, and especially most of you guys who got to present in that stage were in a disadvantage, as you say, the area where it was, and there was no mic. So to cover yourself, where those people were either aggravated with what was going around, or just could no longer take it, to have this to go with it. It's amazing. And these are actual episodes, right? So how many episodes do you have on your show?
Over 150 now, I think.
Yeah, so you picked 10 courts. Like, how did you decide which court? Because there's a lot of going back to listen to have specific, because as I'm counting, there are only 10 courts on this page.
Yeah, I wish I had my little notebook here. So I did majority of that season, I actually recorded in person. And so after each recording, I would just take a few minutes to write down notes and quotes and things that came up for me during the episode. And so after that season was done, I looked back over it and I just kind of identified 10 quotes and things like that that I thought would be good to include. So again, not the sexy way, not with AI. Took a little pen and paper, but we got it done. So
I love it. I wonder if these people know they're actually printed. Like, do they get a copy? Like, I would be so happy to see myself, like, But
Yeah.
no, this lives on and things like this because Rap Shit with TV are all about match and branding and all those good amazing things. And most people see me around like I try to be branded as much as I can be. Sometimes too much.
Rap Shit with P is more than just a name. It's what we do. We make visions come alive, from branding and merch to curated gifting and virtual assistant services. We help creatives, entrepreneurs, and businesses show up bigger, bolder, and better. So if you're ready to level up your vision, connect with us on IG at rapshitwithp or rapshitwithp@gmail.com. And that's WRAPSHITWITHP, rapshitwithp@gmail.com or rapshitwithp on Instagram. Rap Shit with P, where access meets energy, where passion meets execution, and where every detail gets wrapped with love and excitement. So here's to season 10, the final season of Talk Shit with P.
So when I see things which are different, because I'm tired of seeing the same shit, I want people to go outside the box and like, so it's been a while since somebody has wowed me into their like, I don't want to lose this. And even when I was parking, I was like, I better hope because people are trying to steal it because they could no longer get any of them. So I made sure it was safe and secure and back to Atlanta where it belongs. But speaking of that, your podcast is called Honey and Hustle. And I have Honey and Hustle stickers. Like I'm branded with Honey and Hustle. My power bank, my laptops, they have Honey and Hustle. I spread them around, and it has been also a conversation starter because sometimes I forget I still have the stickers, and when I take out my power bank or anything, and people read, please hustle responsibly. They're like they really can relate, especially now in the culture where we have been so much in the go. I used to believe that being busy meant you're doing something, but then I realized you can be busy and you're not doing shit. It's better to be productive than busy. There's a difference between being productive and busy. So that's why I related so much with Please Hustle Responsibility. So how did this name come about? Like, how did you end up naming your podcast Hustle, Honey and Hustle? And what came to mind with having the slogan Please Hustle Responsibly, even though it's something we have known, but for you to capture that moment and write it along.
Yeah, I'll start with the name of the podcast because that definitely came first. When I was thinking for the concept of the show, I remember I get inspired a lot by design. And I saw this design on Instagram that had a really big H. And on the top bar of the H, it had like the words for hustle in between. And on the bottom, it had humble. And I was like, okay, this is definitely like some workout motivation type shirt, but how can I take that concept and like turn it into something more feminine and badass and fun? And Honey and Hustle came to mind. And I kind of like the honeybee, honeycomb type branding of that. So I felt like I could use that. Also have something fun coming up with that branding, a new version of the show, but we're not going to talk about it yet. So yeah, so
I love how you're acting like Olandra and Nick right now. Like you're just giving us some little clowns. Like like I'm here for it. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Polly's getting all the exclusives. I gotta pace him out. So yeah, so Honey and Hustle was the name. We got a really good reception to the name. And then when I started thinking about the podcast or the newsletter, obviously I drank at the time. And I said, I was like watching a beer commercial. And at the end of it, they always say, please drink responsibly. And I was like, what if I said, please hustle responsibly? That's kind of a similar tone. Like, it's kind of tongue in cheek because when they say please drink responsibly, they really mean buy as much as you can without legally getting pulled over for intoxication. What I mean when I say please hustle responsibly is literally like, do not go into burnout trying to like be in go mode all the time. And I think that's what is one of the driving ethoses of like my newsletter. It's what guides the beats, I think, in my writing. There's an element of encouragement, there's an element of like hard work, but there's also an element of vulnerability and heart to let people know like it's okay if you're not 100%. It's okay if you don't hit your goal in the time you think you should. It's okay if you need to rest in order to have the energy to keep going. It's okay if you need to take a break. It's okay if you need to spend time with your family versus working on your business. Like those are the type of things that we try to incorporate. And I say we, it's me, but those are the type of things I try to incorporate in the newsletter. So that yes, it's informative. Yes, it's valuable. Yes, it's hopefully entertaining with my witty personality, but also there's this element of like, please understand that I'm a human writing this and I'm experiencing the same crap you're experiencing writ large. Like I'm not always 100%, and it's okay for you to not be 100% and still be successful.
Please Hustle Responsibly just celebrated 2 years. Woohoo! Happy 2 years to Please Hustle Responsibly. So I feel like the best way you can help celebrate this milestone is go and subscribe, go support, go drop some happy 2 years, some confetti out to Angela, spam her page, show her some love. We all know how much it is to celebrate such moments. Happy 2 years. Please Hustle Responsibly.
And I love that. And that's why I relate to this because, again, being born in Tanzania, where when you take a break and rest, they see you as lazy, right? Like, what do you mean you're just sleeping the whole day? Like, go out and do something. But what am I? And that's how you end up going outside and getting in trouble as well, because you have no business being outside if you shouldn't be outside. So, growing up in that space where you constantly had to keep hustling or moving or doing something because God forbid you took a lazy day, and then growing up and starting therapy and working on myself, realizing that you can't constantly be on the go. And every time I don't listen to my body, I end up crashing in the bad way, and it's costing me a lot more than just I've listened to my body instead. So these days I take pleasure in a lazy day. I enjoy staying in my bed, and sometimes I'm even like, I'm not even gonna shower today. We are gonna stay in bed and just eat some snacks and watch some trash TV. Because sometimes that's what the mind needs. Sometimes you're not making sense in your business or showing up correctly, or things are not making sense because even your mind is tired of constantly thinking or trying to be creative. It also needs to rest. And when you come back, you feel fresher, like you can finally feel the dots making sense. So I love that. And as a person who loves beer and drinks a lot of beer, I like that a beer commercial inspired you. When you are please drink responsibly, please answer responsibly. So that's amazing. But also, you are also the founder of Rootful Media. So again, where did that name? How did you end up name? I'm always fascinated by how people name their companies or their businesses or their creativity. So a little background on Rootful Media and what it's all about.
Yeah, so the original name of my company was named after me, which I don't recommend. It was Ange H Studio. A lot of people got it wrong, so spelling was an issue. But it was also a good way for me to weed out people that knew me and people who didn't, because they'd walk up to me and they would call me Ange, and I don't go by Ange. I go by Angela. So there was a lot of things going on there. And I was maybe at the end or somewhere in 2022, I was like, okay, I want to do a rebrand. What should the name be? And at the time, I was doing a lot of like environmental justice, like outdoor human rights, storytelling, documentaries, and work. And I wanted a name that reflected that. So Rootful was one of the 5 names that I came up with. I did a little focus group and did some research on like what names were available, the .coms, like what was search saying was competitive, and that weeded out some of them. But Rootful was the one that came up as the winner. And so that's what we went with. Do Does my work focus on that? No. Doesn't matter. I'm stuck with the name because now Rootful Media has turned into like this umbrella company for a lot of my original media projects. So there's still an element of like outdoor adventure storytelling in that, some athlete driven stories for sure. But there's also this element of like business storytelling that is now more fully under that umbrella, women's sports stories that are now under that umbrella, some narrative work that's now going to be under that umbrella. So it's a lot more expansive than what it used to be. But I'm okay with the name. I'm going to stick with it. I still think it's unique. So I have that going for me. I still own the domain, so I have that going for me. So we'll see how we go.
I love it, and I feel rootful like it's the root, right? So they all have to and they branch. So you can have all things under, as you said, an umbrella. So that's the main branch where it has different roots falling down. So it still kind of works, and I love that. And you've talked about rebranding, which is big on me, especially this season, especially talks you with it coming to an end or long-term break, whatever the future is. What are your thoughts on rebranding or pivoting? I know it can be scary as well when you already have clients or fans who are already committed. You know, some of them be loud as fuck out there, like in a supportive way.
Yeah.
But once they're committed, and we know people are very bad with change, whether it's good or not. The idea of change scares a lot of people. So when you were rebranding, did you ever have those scary thoughts of, I know you already hated people coming up to you and calling you Angie, even though that's the name you gave your company.
Yeah.
So were you scared that you might lose some clients, or that thought didn't come? It was just like, I'm over it. We're going to start afresh, and whatever happens, happens. How did you navigate the rebranding process of it all?
Yeah. I think for me, part of the rebrand was me making a declaration of the type of work that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important to consider. Rebrands can be a reflection of the work that you have done and that you are most known for, but they can also be aspirational in guiding you towards the work that you want to do more of. And I think mine was kind of a combination of the two. Like the work that I was most proud of was my documentary style work, and I wanted to do more of that. So that's how that name came into play. I personally think it helped me a lot because I got more work like that, and people just understood, oh, this is the go-to person for outdoor adventure, environmental justice type advocacy. Those are the nonprofits that I was on the board of: Bike Durham and Dogwood Alliance, Forestry Justice, and Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Advocacy. So there's a lot of me and my life and my work that was reflected in this name. I don't think it was that big of a deal. I think rebrands go bad for a couple of reasons. One, if they add more confusion than they do clarity. See HBO and HBO Max, and then HBO. I don't even know. Okay. I think the next one is going to be H Max. Okay. And nobody's going to know what's going on. But I think like, so when they add more confusion than clarity, then that's not a good thing, especially when they require you to get a whole new app. Like, what are you doing, HBO? Sorry to pick on HBO, but I know they don't watch this and I know that they don't care. So they pay somebody $15 million to tell them they need to change it back to HBO.
HBO, can you hear us? Okay.
So there's that. I think that's one of the reasons it goes bad. I think another reason it goes bad if maybe the rebrand isn't expansive. So from color perspective, from a message perspective, like if you pigeonhole yourself a little bit too much, then you're shrinking the viability of the company and of the name. I'm trying to think of an example. I can't think of one right now, but I think that could be really difficult. I think there's also ones where maybe you set an expectation a little bit too high, and you're not really able to fulfill it based on people's expectations. And a really easy example of this is like Disney Plus. For a long time, everybody knew what Disney was. It was theme parks and it was a channel on TV. Now you're saying Disney Plus is streaming that I have to pay separate from TV. Now you're saying that all the Marvel movies I love that were scattered across Netflix and Hulu and Amazon can only be seen on Disney Plus. Now, you know what I mean? Like, now you're telling me that any actor who signs with Disney Plus is trying to sign away their name, image, and likeness for like the rest of their life. Are you kidding me? How am I supposed to support that? So, you know, and there's a lot of things that have added a little plus sign to their name, and now it's people are upset because they're like, why is my subscription going up every year, but what I get access to is not? And I don't feel like it's fulfilling on this promise and on this premise that I'm getting something extra. So those are what I would say when rebrands have a hard time catching on. So yeah, try not to do that. So
no, and that's so true, because some of the stuff you get on Disney Plus, they're also available on ABC. Like, none of that shit ever makes sense. But it's also the same as conferences, because me and you do attend most of them. So when people have the tickets, right, and you look at the ticket price and some tickets, and you look at, okay, what am I getting for VIP or Pro compared to what am I getting normal? And you're like, so I'm paying extra, but there's not much difference. Like, what do you mean? What's the point? Like, there's no special parts of me, but just the title of, oh, you are Pro, oh, you are VIP, but you just spend more money for nothing more. So I get that part, and I appreciate the honesty, and I think there's a thing. Like I said, I spent so much money on my rebrand and my new logo compared to my first logo when I started, because I wasn't invested when I was starting my podcast, right? So I wasn't going to throw money on a logo that I wasn't sure if it was just a COVID baby fan or if it was something that was gonna, because a lot of us are COVID babies, right? When I mean babies projects, right? We call them the COVID babies. But then when I saw that I was invested in everything, that's when I paid for a jingle, I paid for a proper intro, like I started really investing. But right now, if you tell me to go rebrand, and that's why I'm putting it on a hold until I figure out the direction, because I'm not wasting more money on a rebrand when I've already spent so much and I don't know what the rebrand actually looks or what it's gonna serve. And sometimes also it's good to know when to end something more or less than rebranding it, like, you know. But something I want to ask you, right? On Honey and Us, so you highlight founders and creatives. So, what's a question you wish more founders ask you personally?
if you could do it all over again, what's a project or a revenue stream you would have started sooner? Yeah.
Which I love the question, because my next question was, you know, what skill were you the worst at when you started Rootful Media? And how did you get yourself up to speed? Because I don't know about your background in entrepreneurship. Mine, I have no background in entrepreneurship. I never thought I wanted to go into the entrepreneurship world. I just knew I wanted to work in events, because I do not like anything that has 9 to 5. I like working weird hours. As you've seen me, sometimes the hours we are all are variable working, and so I like that. But I never thought about the idea of owning something, because I always wanted the security of receiving a paycheck, either if it's weekly, bi-weekly, annually, whatever, but knowing that I am receiving paycheck over starting something and being in charge of it all over. But circumstances or the world since 2020 has not been the same, and most of us have been thrown into positions that we never saw ourselves, but we're enjoying being in those positions, however hard or scary they are, including me and now with my company. So everything I'm learning with my company and entrepreneurship is I'm learning as I'm going, right? I'm building and breaking and rebuilding and breaking. It's a constant cycle. So yeah, what skills were you the worst at when you started Rootful Media, and how did you get yourself up to speed for people out there like me who are still in that space level?
All of them. No, I'm joking. I would say like when I first started the company, I was a photographer mainly, and I knew some video, but obviously not to the level I know it now. So I would say photography was like my main strength, and I was like learning video. Um, and then I got better at certain things. I think there are still some things I'm not super great at that I would just never charge for, like design. I'm not a designer, but I have an eye for design. I get inspired by design. I appreciate good design. I know how to describe the design that I want. I just can't make it. Um, some of the time. And so like again, like the design for the pamphlet slash poster, I contracted out because I was like, I don't know how to do this and I'm not going to waste my time messing it up. I'm just going to get somebody who does this for a living and let them do it. Audio editing and audio recording. It took me a minute to understand the different types of mics and how they work and what mic is best for what purpose. And I was actually talking to Chioke about this at Resonate, and he was talking about like how this audio creator sees mics as almost like camera lenses, and there's a different mic for a different purpose. There's a different camera lens for a different purpose. And I didn't realize it, but that's also kind of how I view mics, which is why I have so much audio equipment, which is actually insane. If you had told me that years ago, I would have been like, no, somebody else can do audio. But like now I get it. Now I have like 3 sets of wireless lavs, and I have a standalone body pack for a lav mic, and I have a shotgun mic, and I have a condenser mic for the podcast, and just like, and I have a really cute phone mic that you might see in a future video, but lots of different mics, but they serve a different purpose, and I understand that now, and I understand like the basic principles of audio editing. I'm not a sound designer, like there's levels to that. I know how to score something. I know how to add music, but that's different from making a score. So there's levels to it. I think audio is one of those things where I got good enough to make a good product that's good to listen to, and that was fine with me. Same with design. It's like I got good enough where I could design a really good newsletter, design a really good website. Anything beyond that is beyond me, and that's okay. Filmmaking, I think I got drastically better. I think I am drastically better. I think there are still even levels to that I don't necessarily aspire to reach. I think we're at a point where if there's something more outside of me, I'm just going to hire someone that does it, like coloring or sound design or scoring. So there's that. Writing, I don't know if I was necessarily like a bad writer, but I definitely think I'm an exponentially better writer now. So there's that. I don't know. Those are my breakdowns, my quick and dirty of my creative skill set right there.
And I love that. I remember during the summer, I was a moderator for a panel with Walter, and we're talking about being a team of one. And we talked about this where it's okay to know a little bit of everything when you're starting. You see, and the things you actually enjoy, even though you don't know them, the more you keep doing them, the more you keep positioning yourself with people who know that to teach you, you keep getting better. But if the things you're really not passionate or you don't care, you're never going to get better because you actually don't want to. Like you don't care for them. So it's always best to outsource, and that's why I love this lenses of everybody being contractors. And I tell people sometimes when you make connections, even if you don't have the money to afford them, there's different ways. People sleep on barter trade. Like, okay, you're good at this, I'm good at this. We all kinds, I will do this for you, you do this for me. You can barter trade and keep promoting each other in your circles. That way you all end up getting jobs or contracted with people can. So there are different ways, and I love that you mentioned that. So yeah, to that, I feel like we constantly feel like we have to spend so much money or know everything, but you can't know everything. And especially now with the AI world, or the world that keeps evolving, every day there's something new, a new tool, a new this, a new way of showing up, a new, especially in the podcasting creating world, like a new trend, a new mic, a new equipment. And that's why I know if I need anything to do with audio, I go to Jay, otherwise he will shout at me. And I know if I need anything with filmmaking, I'll go to Angie. If I need anything with storytelling or capturing, I go to Dominic. Like, so always go to people who know what they know about that. And if you can't outsource from them, get some tips from them. And also to say this, I do remember when you mentioned about how you have different mics for different stuff, and now you understand it. It's like, you remember a podcast movement, I used to find you in one booth. So it doesn't show that, of course, there are all these cameras, and people be like, I've seen people who have like 3-4 cameras, and I'm like, do you really need all that? Like, yeah, this is for close-ups, this is for highlights, this is for this. And I'm like, it's just like a barber, right? It's something small, but they're gonna need different clippers for ages, for this, for this. So thank you for that. I'm going to take you on a quick rapid fire session, which I truly love. It's quick, it's one word, don't overthink it, just live in the moment. Okay, again, we are on Talk Shit with B, so don't take it too seriously. A film that changed you.
Love and basketball. I don't know. I watch a lot of films.
Well, I mean, I think that's the movie I also really started loving Sana. I don't know why, but okay. A book every creator should read.
One of the books by Austin Kleon. I think it's like Show Your Work. Yeah, that one.
All right. What's creative advice you've ever gotten?
The worst creative advice I've ever gotten?
Yes.
Short form content is for Instagram creators. It's not for filmmakers. It's not true. But whatever. Somebody did tell me that though.
How do people divide what platform is for what? Do you remember when they used to say TikTok is for only dancing, and then everybody was scared about going on TikTok because they thought they had to dance?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, a habit that keeps your work honest.
Reading it out loud. Sometimes if you don't know if something is a good idea, say it out loud. See if it sounds right. See if it feels right. That's what I do. I read a lot of my stuff out loud. I reread it all the time.
It's so true, but the weird thing about me, when I read shit out loud, I start second guessing that and there's that, like the little words that are in place. Like, do I say there or there, or do I say it?
That's what it's
But
for.
I hear what you mean. Exactly. A boundary that you put in place to not only protect yourself. Again, we live in a social media world, in a very fast-paced world. But what's and also when you have clients, so what's the boundary that you put to not only protect yourself but protect from your clients, from collaborations, from your work?
One of my boundaries that I started like last year was just like not taking a bunch of meetings. So there were times where I like find myself in meetings and I'd be like, why am I here? Like, what does this have to do with me? Or I'd be like, okay, I just did a virtual 15-minute call with someone with no agenda, with no clear understanding of what we're going to talk about, just like chatting about what we're doing. Like, I think even those calls, respectfully to everybody who reaches out to me on LinkedIn, like they need to have a purpose. We need to have some intentionality behind it. Otherwise, it's just like eating into my time in a way that is just like not sustainable for me to actually be creative. So that was a long answer to a rapid fire question.
Oh no, but I love it, because I'm a same person. I hate people who just text me, hey. Like, no, why are you texting? Hey, just get to the point. Hey, how you doing? I need this. Oh, are you free to catch up? But this, hi. How you doing? Good. You like the back end, like, no, unnecessary. Like, I hear you. And also, I on my calendar, people would book time on Mondays at 8 a.m. And first of all, I hate Mondays. Half of the time, Sundays, because I work late at night, and Sundays I have Sunday fun days, so I will nap early and then I'll be up all night. I'll probably be going to bed at 6, 7, 8 on a Monday. And you to book a time at 8 a.m. on a Monday, first of all. So I started making sure my meetings don't start until 12:30 on Mondays.
Yeah.
Last one on the rapid fire. What inspires you outside of your creative work?
Like I said, I get really inspired by design. I get really inspired by TV shows that I watch. I get really inspired by nature. I take a lot of walks in nature, and that helps like fuel my creativity. But yeah, I love design. I love some good design work. I love messaging that comes with design. Um, I love seeing like ad creative from different brands and organizations and companies. Those are probably some of my biggest inspirations for sure.
I love that. So this is one of the main questions of season 10. For some reason, I really can't remember where me and you met. I know I've seen you around. I've followed you for a while, but I can't really pinpoint the first time when we met. So this might be a little bit hard for you. But the main question for season 10 that I ask everybody, because I'm trying to give myself flowers, because damn it, I've earned it. But what was your first impression of me when we met? And if you can remember where we met, and then now that we have gotten to know each other, what is your impression of me?
Okay, so I don't remember the exact moment, but I do think we met at Afros and Audio in Baltimore. I do think that is where we met. Because that was one of my first, it's either there or it was at Black Podfest in Atlanta, which is where you live. I'm willing to bet it was one of those two places. And I would say when I first remembered you was when you walked up to me at Empowered Podcast Conference in Charlotte, and you just like started talking to me, and I was like, "Who is this person talking to me?" And you're like, "You don't remember who I am, do you?" And I was like, "No, I'm so sorry." And you're like, "I'm Paula. We met at this event." I was like, "Oh, okay, got you." And I would say since then, obviously, we've all been to a lot of conferences, and we've hung out at a lot of different conferences, and it was actually your birthday during Empowered Podcast Conference. So Paula was like on like 12 out of 10 guys. Like, I need y'all to imagine this with me. Like, she was like in her bag, in her zone. She had her cute dress and heels on for like the dinner at the end, like just really going all in, just like energy lighting up the room. So I just was like, oh, this is very extroverted, like fun, like very people person. So that was definitely quite the impression for sure. I definitely remembered her after that. And then I think now, like, Paula is still that. Like, she's definitely still that. Like, she's organized a meetup for me and some other podcasters in Atlanta that I really appreciated. And is really just that person that supports creators. She supports podcasters. She brings people together in a very meaningful way. And I just really appreciate you and everything that you've done. So here are your flowers for sure. And for everybody watching who's questioning, like, what does it mean to build community and maybe not have a newsletter? Like, Paula's a really good example of this. Like, she really keeps in touch with people. She's a great logistics person. And she shows up to support. So that's what's important.
Love it. Thank you so much. And one thing you have forgotten is when we were at Empowered, you also did interview me a little bit, right?
Yeah. For a video. Yeah. Girl, it's all a blur.
I know, right? So quick question, right? What's in a world where as a creative, it's so easy to also sometimes sell out, because sometimes we see other people getting chances that they don't deserve, or they're not on that level, and we sometimes feel like we are constantly being overlooked. So some people do sell out, some people do protect their what's the word, credibility or the authenticity. So what's something in the film or creator world you refuse to compromise on, even when it costs you opportunities?
I don't know if I've been in a place where I felt like something cost me an opportunity, but well, maybe that's not true. So I think for trail therapy, like in order for me to see my vision through, like I had to not do other things. So I spent basically the better part of 3 or 4 months only doing that film. And that was obviously a gamble as someone who makes majority of her money from freelancing, but I personally believe that that film is one of the single best things that I've done in my career so far. And I think it was worth it to really be disciplined about my vision for the film and seeing it through, to maybe say no to other freelance projects or not market myself as a freelancer during that time, because we were able to successfully crowdfund for that film. We are doing a film festival circuit for it. And now people really associate me with the word film director. And I think that's really what I wanted to get out of that. And I just don't think I would have gotten it in the same amount of time if I just kept freelancing. So yeah, so I do think that was maybe a sacrifice, but I don't see it that way. I see it as just like that's what needed to happen. And I'm okay with the things that didn't come as a result of that. I think it worked in my favor for sure.
You bet on yourself, even though it might not look like that.
Yeah.
As we come to an end, you have said AI can't fix a bad story. How do you identify a story that's fundamentally not working? Because we live in a world where everybody has a story, right? But every story is not fit for everything. So,
Yeah.
especially now with AI and everybody trying to jump on that wagon, and there's so much that AI produced where it loses the soul. So, how do you identify a story that's not fundamentally working?
Yeah, I would say one thing that has been unexpected in my career is the speaking. I never set out to be a speaker. Paula knows me, I'm fairly introverted. So speaking was just kind of a byproduct of like me understanding that that's what needs to happen in order for me to attract people to me at events. And I think through speaking, there's one thing that I did. It's called, excuse my French, it's called Fuck Up Nights Durham. And it's essentially almost like a mini TED Talk style event where you share a story where you fucked up. And throughout that process, I was able to work with a speaking and story coach on the development of my talk for that night, and how they structured like my thinking around how to share my story was very instrumental, I think, to me telling my story going forward. That was also around 2022 as well. So again, just around this time where I'm rebranding and I'm thinking very critically about like what parts of me are important to share, what parts of my story are important to share. And I think that event was very instrumental in that and very helpful with that. And I wish more people who are trying to grow a personal brand online would go through a process like that. Because a lot of y'all sharing stuff we don't care about, friend. We don't care about your dog that died when you were 3 years old. That don't mean nothing for why you're a business owner. You were just sad for like 2 days. Okay. I think like understanding what parts are important, understanding where the beats are in the story, where the transitions are in the story, and how they all add up to a point is very important. But again, I don't think a lot of people are going through a process like that. So when you see like, it's going to be interesting to see what this like CEO executive content trend starts to manifest as, because again, if you don't have someone with discernment who's acting kind of as a story editor or a speaking coach saying like, hey, you don't need to go off on a tangent for 2 minutes. I know you heard a podcaster do this and you thought it was cool, but this isn't actually a good thing to do. It's actually really boring and it's defeating the purpose of this video or this story or whatever. Like having someone to weed out the parts that maybe aren't as important to get to the meat of the parts that maybe you're avoiding, the more vulnerable parts about how an experience transformed you for the better or for the worse, are much, much harder to get to, but they're so necessary in order for a story to be compelling. So, and there's ways to do that without sharing all of your personal information. I don't share any information about my family online, really. I don't share my friends' stories for fun. You know, I share things that are genuinely meaningful to me and meaningful to my story. And I think those come across really, really well. So I think there's also just a lot of people who are like, well, They either go to the extreme of sharing every little detail, or they go to the extreme of sharing like nothing and sounding like a robot on LinkedIn, which people claim they hate. So there has to be some kind of like convergence in the middle of where you're sharing enough to be honest and to be real and to be vulnerable, but also sharing strategically in a way that feels like, I'm sharing this for a purpose, not just to gain sympathy or not just to make money. I'm sharing this because I want to find other people who maybe have experienced what I've experienced, who want to find relief for a problem together, and are like-minded in that they also view business or life the way that I do, and they might be good to connect with.
And that's so true. And I love the reason I was laughing because one, I am that oversharer, right? But also I tend to know some of the stuff I overshare on Facebook won't work on Instagram, or some of the stuff I overshare on Instagram won't work on LinkedIn. And some of the Thread is just that streak where you share whatever the fuck you want to share. And that's what Thread is. But they all have different sectors. Excuse me. But also one of the reasons why I hated speaking is because I didn't know how to structure what you're talking about. And I recently attended Chris's class, Story Powered Confidence course, which was 6 weeks. And it really captured what exactly we're talking about, how to get to the story without the unnecessary over exploit, and how to do it in a way where people catch on and ride the wave with you. So I get that. And if I hadn't done Chris's course, I wouldn't have. So you are right. People need to take these classes. Just like I know right now, my next move is also to take media training classes, guys. Boy, sometimes I know I need to shut the fuck up on that red carpet on the questions that I'm being asked. Not everything is, and Rakshia with is gonna grow, and I need to be prepared. They say when you're ready, you don't need to stay. When you're ready, you don't need to stay ready or be ready. So that's my next move. So I agree, like all these people, like you might think you're a good speaker or whatever, and you can be that, but that doesn't mean that you know how to articulate your story just because you're a good speaker. So go get that help. Quick question. I know you're located in Durham, but is that where you were raised and born and raised?
No, I was born in Columbus, Georgia, and I was raised in Phoenix City, Alabama, which is like right across the river. So, growing up, I had no idea that people had issues with the border, but, you live and you learn.
How did you end up in Durham?
I got a job in 2019 that I left a year later to go full-time into creative entrepreneurship. So, cautionary tale, maybe.
Hey, I hate when people say everything has a reason, because sometimes I'm like, God, what the fuck is the reason for all this? And why do I always have to go through shit to find the reason where I never even know what the reason was? But how has Durham shaped your creative voice? And what part of you existed because you're rooted in there? Because you say you moved there and there for a job, and then after 1 year, kind of left that and became full-time creative. So your creative journey started in Durham.
It started before Durham. Like my creative journey, I started my business in 2016, picked up a camera in 2015, moved to Durham in 2019. So I'd had a couple of years under my belt in Alabama as a creator. I would say that Durham gave my creativity wings. It allowed it to bloom and blossom and fly and float, and wander in ways that it just didn't in Alabama. And part of that is connections. I think Durham has a really incredible history of Black entrepreneurship. It's the home to one of the Black Wall Streets, the original Black Wall Streets. And that spirit still kind of lives in the city now, where people just really want to help you succeed. And I felt that energy almost immediately when I moved here. So it felt freeing to be in a place where I felt supported, but also to be in a place where, I was living by myself. I had an apartment. And when COVID happened and they sent us home, I had all this time to like stay up late, hit that midnight grind that me and Paula know about. And
That's why we don't be sleeping. We be staying up late. Angela, we need to do better, but go ahead, sorry.
I'm not trying to do better. I've gone through a whole epiphany about my sleep. So I say that with an informed mind. But yeah, I just felt like, I could explore. I just had so much more time to explore. And I also try to tell people that when you go full time into entrepreneurship, it is much different than it being a side hustle. And it's much different from a time perspective. When something is a side hustle, you're doing it, nights and weekends. You're fitting it in where you can fit it in. But when it's your full-time job, it's like, it's your days, it's your nights, it's your weekends, it's your sleep, it's your brunch, it's your family outing sometimes, it's your whatever. Like, it's everything because you have to pay your bills with it, but you also have to find joy in it. And for me, I don't even know if I was burnt out, really. I don't think I knew that I was burnt out, maybe because what else was there to do during the pandemic? I was in the house. I had plenty of time to explore and try different things and experiment and just put a lot of time and effort into growing as a creative. So back to that question about like, well, what was your weakest skill set when you first started Rootful Media? Obviously, I had a lot. By the end of 2020, a lot of that I had closed the gap on because I had so much time to put towards learning how to be a better designer, learning how to do audio better, learning how to do video better, learning how to storytell better, learning social media and marketing and how that works and translates. So a lot of it is like when you see people growing exponentially, when you're a full-time creator, you have that time to put into that. I'm also not married, no kids. So I really didn't have, it was me and a computer and Pepsi. And that was it. That was it for a long time. So yeah, I think I just grew exponentially during that time. And I think Durham provided just a really great space for that. There's green space, there's great people, there's great food. And yeah, I just really blossomed in Durham. And I'm super thankful for my time in the city.
I love that. Quick questions from what you shared. How was it being a creative in Alabama? Because again, I have a whole different a different reality of Alabama in the way it is, and I've not explored it much. But from all I know, and being Black and then creative, and then in Alabama. So how was that?
And I can really only speak from being a freelance creator in Alabama. It was rough. I think it still is rough. I'm I'm like committing myself to moving back home to like the Alabama, Georgia area where I grew up. So it's something I'm thinking about now. It's like, where do I find my people? Where do I find my collaborators? How is it going to work in terms of funding? And I don't have all the answers right now, but I think it is very different. I do think there is a creative community in certain places. Like Birmingham had a really incredible creative scene. I loved living in Birmingham. That definitely just expanded my musical palette, expanded my creative palette so much. So some incredible things being made in Birmingham, people in Birmingham. I think Mobile has a really good creative scene. I don't know as much about Huntsville, but those are kind of like your three big cities. And then like Montgomery being the capital, Phoenix City being where I'm from, a smaller town or like a big town. And then like some other small places. So Alabama itself, if you love being in nature, it's great. It's beautiful, wonderful. Can't recommend it enough. But I think if you're trying to do something else, narrative, podcasting, there are probably better options for you if that's something that you need explicitly. But again, where I live, I'm maybe an hour and a half from Atlanta. So I just be going up to Atlanta and hanging out. So.
And we love it. She officially paid her taxes, so we have no problem with that entering and stopping by, even if sometimes she forgets to let the governors know that she's in town.
Wow.
But being a freelancer creative is already hard no matter where you stay, right? It's more helpful if you are in a place where there's also a community to help and support. But not to shit on Alabama. Like wherever you stay, it has its issues depending on, like in Atlanta, sometimes it feels too saturated because everybody in Atlanta is very so sometimes you wonder, is it better to be a small fish in a big pond or be a big fish in I don't know. So, but I was just curious of that. And I promise you, this is the last question. As you have mentioned that you picked up a camera in 2015 after losing travel photos from Spain. So I want to talk about that first. How was your Spain experience? Was this the first time? And how did losing those photos make you feel to the extent that you're like, okay, I'm picking up a camera and moving into that direction?
Yeah, Spain was my first international trip ever. It's my first time in the country. I was 20 at the time. And it was just really transformative for me. I've actually gone back since then. I went back in 2013 and I did a different route. So, and I did have a camera, but yeah, didn't make that mistake twice. But yeah, I think like, it was really transformative for me in terms of how I saw myself and what I was capable of. And, just like the first kind of inclination of like, okay, I feel like I'm on the right path in life and doing what is right for me as a college student and as a person. And I think losing those photos was just like devastating, like I spent all that money, I spent all that time, all that effort to go and complete the Camino de Santiago, and like I don't have anything to show for it. So that was really hurtful. But when you're 20, your memory is like that of a goldfish. So I just forgot about it, and I just like worked all summer to get a camera. And it took me a minute because I didn't actually, like I said, that was in 2014. I didn't actually start like committing to like, okay, I want to get better at photography until a year later. Because of course, when you're first starting something, you're going to be bad at it. And I was bad at it. But I was like, okay, I'm not going to get good by just looking at my camera and being like, oh, this picture isn't going to come out well. I got to keep trying. And that was the whole thing about it. So to this day, photography is like my first creative love. I have a lot of cameras too, which we're not going to get into, but I really love the craft of photography. I really get inspired by photography. I love a good magazine. I love a good Instagram profile, even though I have not posted on Instagram in like 4 years and I don't plan on changing that. But yeah, I think it meant a lot, and it in many ways has shaped a lot of the creative journey that I'm on now. So forever thankful for that trip, and forever thankful for what cameras have done for me and what doors they've opened for me. So
I love it. Guess you ended up finding your lesson for losing your pictures. Right? Sometimes people find out the lesson. So thank you so much, Angela, for hanging out with me as we come to an end. Let the people know where they can find your films, your work at Rootful Media and also podcast, how they can sign up for your newsletter, which I am a big fan of and I read respectfully. And also leave a little advice for the creators who are trying to tell meaningful stories but feel overwhelmed, because we have constantly talked about being burnout and losing inspiration as a creator, which comes a lot. So what's your one piece of grounding advice for them?
yeah, I'll start with my website because that's easier than advice. I might need a little minute to think. But my website is www.angelahollowell.com. So it's just my name. That's where you can find everything that I'm working on. I try to keep it updated. I do a 2% good job at that, but that's where you can find everything. Everything, all the links are updated. In terms of advice for people who are feeling burnt out, at the time of recording this is Friday, November 14th. So roughly 2 weeks before, you'll hear this on December 3rd. So the last month of the year, we're in the throes of holiday season. Like this is typically around the time of year that I like to reflect on how the year has gone, but also start planning for the year ahead. And sometimes that involves content creation. Sometimes that involves planning. And I think that with everything, there's a season in life. And I think one thing that really has helped me in planning for each year is understanding that there's going to be seasons where I'm in the house and I'm doing me. And there's going to be seasons where I'm outside. There's going to be seasons where I want to be with my family. There's going to be seasons where I want to be with my friends. There's going to be seasons where I want to be by myself. And I think the more honest you can be with yourself about what your ideal week looks like, the better off you will be as a creator to further prevent burnout in the future. And when you build in rest into your weeks, it won't feel like this reward for burning yourself into the ground. It will feel like a natural part of your creative cycle. And that's really where I think you have to get to in order for creativity to be sustainable. You have to build in time for rest. You have to build in time for joy. You have to build in times where you're not thinking about anything creatively. You're just having a good time with people that you love. So that would be my recommendation for people who are feeling burnt out. It's the last month of the year. There's not anything you can do that's going to drastically change how this year as a whole went. Stop thinking about it. It's never just one thing. It's always the culmination of actions and habits. So give yourself grace for the things that maybe you came up short on. Give yourself flowers for the things you did well. And give yourself time to plan for how to make next year even better.
I love that. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm glad we were able to do this. I'm glad to have you on my final season of Talk to You with P. And thank you for just being a friend, somebody I can always talk to and just reach out for anything. And I appreciate you and your work so much. So keep doing the damn thing. And I can't wait to see all the incredible shit that I know you dropped some little crumbs on here, but I can't wait to see them come to life. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me. I just hit my mic. Wow, such a great professional podcaster.
That's the best way to end. You literally did that mic drop moment without wanting to do a mic drop moment.
Lord have mercy. Okay.
Okay, listen up, y'all. I'm about to give you all a great ass tip, okay? Y'all know I barely read my DMs, and God, don't get me started on tracking my links. But now, I'm low-key organized. And you want to know why? You want to know what the secret is? Stampede Social. So Stampede Social, it's like if Instagram, Linktree, and your favorite social media intern had a baby, but with boundaries and vibes, lots of vibes. You get a full dashboard that tracks what people are actually clicking on. Now, wouldn't you like to know that? Like I do, and I enjoy it. I've been obsessed with it. Like for once, I know which post made you run to my link and which ones flopped harder than my ex's mixtape. Sorry. Plus, here's a kicker. Get this right. There's a 7-day free trial because we don't do commitments without a test drive, y'all. And if you're feeling spicy, or should I say extra spicy, use code PAULA20. Yes, that's PAULA20 for 20% off a plan every month for life. Yes, forever, ever, forever, ever. So if you're a content creator, podcaster, or just tired of shouting into the void, go check out Stampede Social because your content deserves better than link in bio with zero context. Again, that's PAULA20, PAULA20. Because I love you, but I love organized chaos even more. Don't say I didn't tell you. Don't say I didn't share. Don't say I didn't give you the good. Don't come back to me complaining because it's right there. Go on now. Go get your 7-day free trial. Thank me later. Thank you, Ship Talkers, for tuning in and spending your valuable time with us. We appreciate you. To connect with us more, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter and catch all the shit-talking vibes before anybody else. You can subscribe to our newsletter through our website, www.talkshitwithp.com, and or our merchandise website, www.talkshitwithp.shop. And while you're there, feel free to shop away. Talk Shit with P is available on all social media platforms with the handle Talk Shit with P. Follow us and engage with us. Better yet, if you're feeling generous, give us a review on Apple Podcasts, and or rate us on Spotify. You can also share a beer with me where my beer lovers at. I mean, what better way to support the movement than sharing a beer with me by buying me a beer at buymecoffee.com. Thank you for listening, sharing, engaging, and support in any way that you do. Remember, new episodes are out every Wednesday, and for part 2, if any, on Fridays. Let's talk and all listen to some shit. Happy shit talking.